it's Stu, and today we're going to talk about unhauling and hauling books. I went to a Friends of the Library book sale. Love Friends of the Library book sales. Not the one that I go to weekly, like the bookstore. It was a neighboring town and unincorporated whose library was having a book sale. I love book sales. I am limited as anybody is. I have a space that's now almost completely taken up. And I'm also thinking about moving. So I wanted to think also a little bit about sort of getting rid of things to make space. And so that's what I did before and then after I hauled books. I kind of went through my shelves and decided to unhaul some books that I haven't read. I'm just kind of going to go through them quickly. Here's a summary. I exchange a lot through little free libraries. I'm quite experimental, and I don't necessarily have any feelings towards these books. They could be great books, they could be not great books. I don't do that much work about finding out the synopsis or caring what other people think too much about books before I read them. But I also, I read enough to know what I'm more likely to like or not. And I think, really the focus on this unhaul is I'm not a romance galley. I think like the tropes in romance put me off oftentimes, and I find them quite problematic. And that takes me out of the story. And, I've said it before, maybe I'm just a hater and I can't stand, romance isn't my thing. And I take it from time to time from little free libraries to try and, give it a chance. And then I do. And then I think either that was okay or nah. So the sum total of this pile is basically romance books that I intended to kind of give a chance to. Summer's gone. If I were going to give a chance, and some came onto my onto my Libby shelf during summer, and I passed them up. It's telling, right? So I'm just going to go through them really quickly to not make this super long video. And again, I don't have any feeling towards these books. Especially if they're newer or more popular authors. I know romance is a popular genre and other people would enjoy them more than I would, and they don't need to necessarily just be sitting on my shelf taking up space while I decide if I'll ever be a romance reader. Dirty Diana by Jen Basser and Shana Feste. Maybe it's Faced. Actually was on a TBR last year, and it is maybe one of the only books that I intended to read, like stated I would read, and then didn't, and then put back on the shelf. And I think it's just time. This Jennifer Weiner book, The Next Best Thing, came off of hold on Libby, and I suspended the hold multiple times over the summer, this is gives like cruise ship vibes. Somebody loves this author, I'm for sure. This is my guess, a quite popular author, and this is a book that is in very good condition. I don't think it's been read. So I'm sad to not have been the one to have read it, and I'm actually sad that I've had it almost a year. I did get it because of the please tell me. Let me get what I want this time quote in the beginning that was like my son had just talked to me about the song, and then I saw the book with that quote and decided it was meant to be, but alas, I was wrong. Stay Up With Hugo Best. I've had it for almost a year. Little free library find. Don't know much about this author. Don't know much about this book. I have passed it up several times when I go through a books and curate TBR. So I think it's just time I feel no connection to it, to let somebody else. Okay, this one isn't romance. And I know it doesn't have a cover. Of course, I'm conflicted. Should I just let it go to recycling? Because who wants a book without a cover? The truth is I took it because Bunged Up Books need love too. It doesn't have a digital or audio version. It's Douglas Coupland, who's, well, I believe a Canadian author, a bit kind of quirky and popular from the 90s. So someone might be a Douglas Coupland fan and happy to find this. However, I think I'll remember where I put it in a little free library, and if it doesn't get picked up, the next time I'm around, I'll go ahead and take it and be the one. I don't want to leave the stewards of the little free library to be like, why are people putting junk in here? I did get it from a little free library exactly like that. 2 Taylor Jenkins Reid's books. I've read 2 of her books, The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo and Malibu Rising. They were just fine for sort of like historical romance, celebrity focused type stuff. Just not my jam. And I'm to understand she's quite popular, so definitely will be somebody else's jam. I'll be happy to find them. And then finally, probably the most popular book that I picked up with the full intention of reading it really quickly and then getting it back out, and then didn't read it over the summer. And so I'm sad. I'm actually sad that I didn't put it out for somebody's summer read, because these sort of like trendy books, like any trend up and then everyone stops talking about them. It nevertheless is a, people like Sprayed Edges. It's never been read by anybody kind of book. So I regret that I kept it as long as I did. I know I'm not going to be an Ali Hazelwood fan. I'm not a romance person, and like sports romance, not going to be my thing anyway. So yeah, that's going, next time I do unhauling into little free libraries, that stack is going along with the, I don't know, like 25 books I have in a stack that I've read. Let's get into the haul. I'm not going to give any synopsis of the book. I'm going to say a little about why I chose this book at a little free library sale. A little free library? No, Friends of the Library sale. Well, because I love book sales, but I was actually really excited to find Julio Alvarez's Yo. I have amassed a bit of a Julio Alvarez collection, and I have an upcoming TBR stack. It's already kind of almost curated for Latin American Hispanic Heritage Month, and one of my Julio Alvarez's is on it. So this would be like the replacement. There will be room on the shelf. Yukio Mishima. I actually was like thinking when I hauled this, does this go in classics? Like, this book was published originally in the late 50s. I think this actual edition is from the 60s. I feel sometimes quite special holding a book that's that old. It's Thirst for Love, by the way. It's almost self-explanatory why I picked this book. The Messenger by Maya Montero. It's translated by Edith Grossman from the Spanish Cuban author. Who I actually, have to remember that if I own the physical copy in Spanish, maybe in English, I could try to find the digital in Spanish. I have already the curated list for Hispanic Latin Heritage Month, but because this is a novella, I think it might end up on it. I just finished a Louise Erdrich book, and it saved me from book slump despair. Oh, it was La Rose, and I'm gonna unhaul it or give it to a friend. It's in the stack of red books. But that means I have room for a replacement where that book was sitting on my shelf. So this is The Master Butcher's Singing Club by Louise Erdrich, and I will, if I haven't read it, haul any Louise Erdrich book. How is it that Roddy Doyle came into my life 2 times over 2 weeks, or maybe 3 weeks? Like, I haven't even thought about Roddy Doyle, maybe ever, but certainly not in a long time. I mean, he was another 90s kind of author. And then I watched the Booker shortlist announcement, and he's the chair of the committee. And so this one, Patty Clark, I think is the one that I had recently also hauled. It was a little mildewy, so I have been airing it out. Anyway, this is what I intend to read in a couple of weeks to sort of celebrate the Booker. But if for some reason I don't feel like a novel. I have this novella here that I just hauled, which is the woman who walked into doors. Yeah. Speaking of Irish authors, Edna O'Brien, Down by the River. This is a book from the 90s. It takes place in small town Ireland in the 90s. I tend to like Irish authors. However, in fact, I just read an Irish author, and that the writing in the book was great, but I have some serious problems with the book. But it just tends, I've developed a bias towards Irish authors, and I tend to give them more chance. As this is an older book, and this font doesn't seem incredibly accessible to me, I will see if this exists in a digital or audio format, and if not, it might go into the Unhaul into Little Free Library stack. Okay, the next book. It was just indulgence. I have to be really honest. I like everybody, loved, like most people, loved A Man Called Ova, and therefore wanted to give Fredrik Backman another chance. This is a beautiful book. It's a chunker, and I'm going to be honest, I don't feel incredibly inspired to read chunkers these days. I'm not saying ever. I'm fully capable. In fact, there was a time when Anna Karenina, for example, was one of my favorite books, and I was definitely reading books 500-600 pages, and I loved that. I loved being in a book for a very long time and really into the characters and having it be sort of like my other life. I don't think Fredrik Backman it's not Anna Karenina, obviously. He does build he does build really relatable characters. My kind of hope, I felt almost selfish hauling this, because I guess my hope is that either I'm going to be like, you know what, I kind of just need Fredrik Backman's view of the world and the way he builds characters. It is quite heartwarming. At least the book that I read by him, which was A Man Called Ova. Or I'm going to have a friend come over looking at my library saying, oh, I love Fredrik Backman, and I'm going to say, here, please take this book. Okay, the last two are signed books. And I do have an affinity for signed books. I know I'm unhauling everything. So it's not like that because I'm collecting or it's some collection thing. It is, it's more that I like the story of the book as well as the story inside of the book. And so, even if I don't necessarily like the contents of the book, there is something quite precious and special to me to have an author's signature. Breaking the Tongue by Vivian Lowe is a novel, and the setting is Singapore, and it's World War II. I think this is a beautiful book cover. I'm excited to give this book a chance. And World War II, I have read and still have many, many, many books on my shelf whose setting is in World War II. I, of course, understand the importance, and especially the understood and or emphasized importance of that global conflict. And I also want to make sure that I'm not, that I'm making space for stories, even stories about conflicts, right? For stories of people who are living through war that isn't just so much in World War II and sometimes using the World War II tropes. I'm to imagine this is Singapore. So it's going to be maybe the Japanese invasion situation. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, enough about that. It's signed. It was a great find. It's beautiful. The last one is also signed. And y'all, this is the thing that's precious about these book sales. This was signed in 1995. 1995. by Pico Iyer. And this is a book called Cuba in the Night. This is another one of those that if a digital or audio copy doesn't exist, it's very small font. And I'm probably going to have to be honest with myself that I won't read a small fonted book in only the physical. However, I was excited to find this book. I don't know anything about it. I'm excited to know more about this book, find out more about this book as I discover if it's got a video, an audio or digital version. And yeah, it was, pretty intriguing that I found another Roddy Doyle and that I found 2 books that have been signed by the authors in this book haul. I'm also quite proud of myself for that unhaul. It feels refreshing. I think anybody who does this sort of like sweep through the bookshelf unhaul, even though I unhaul, like I don't keep books that I read. I put them back out. Like the standard is if it's read, it goes back out. But even this one, like sweeping through and saying, no, I probably am not going to read any of those books, at least anytime soon. They don't feel like books that I'm excited to read, at least. That felt good. So I was happy to do that. And I was happy to do that in connection with making space for a little bit of indulgence at a Friends of the Library book sale, which I love the Friends of the Library book sales. So there you have it.